Hello everyone and welcome to another video on JavaScript programming. Kaushal this side from SimpliCode, and today we are going to do something different from what we have done till now. So we are going to work on a calculator app in which we'll use HTML, CSS and JavaScript all together. So before we begin, make sure that you have subscribed to our YouTube channel and press that bell icon to never miss an update from SimpliCode. So without any further delay, let's get started. So guys, we came across several topics till date, right? We have seen loops, operators, then we came across document object model and many more such topics. So we saw the usage of these topics. We know how to take users input in JavaScript and how to use them. So today we will do something more interesting, and I hope today's topic of discussion will make JavaScript more interesting for you guys. So let's start with the topic. So we all know how a calculator works, right? We can make a simple calculator program in JavaScript with few operators and the if-else statement. So let me show you guys a simple program in JavaScript with which we can calculate several arithmetic expressions and get the output. So here's the code. So we have used the script tag within the HTML document. So you can see it on the screen, guys. Here we have four variables: var op, that will take the input from the user in the form of plus, minus, and then we have asterisk and divide, and then we have reminder as well. So depends upon which task the user wants to perform, it will take the user's input. Next up, we have two variables n1 and n2 for the numbers upon which the operation will be performed. Also, we have used parse float here. We know the usage of this function, right? Whatever input given by the user will be changed to a floating number with the help of this function. Then we have a variable output that will hold the value returned after performing the calculation. So we have several conditions here as well. We have several conditions for each operator. Like if the input given by the user is plus, then it will perform addition between n1 and n2, and the value of n1 plus n2 will be assigned to variable output, right? Similarly, we have other conditions for other operators, like we have for minus, then we have for asterisk, then we have for divide and for remainder as well. So any choice the user will make will get the output accordingly. Like if the user chooses to perform a division, then it will write slash and then it will perform n1 by n2 and the output will be saved in the variable output. Then we can show this output with the help of alert method in JavaScript. We already came across this alert method. It will give a pop-up with the result. Let's check the output once and then we'll move on to the exciting part of this video. So this is a basic calculator program with two variables, n1 and n2. So let's open it with live server. And here you can see we have a pop-up here, and here what we have to do is we have to enter the operator. So here we have to write either plus, minus or any operator from these operators. So let's write here asterisk. So let's say we want to perform multiplication between two numbers. Then we press OK, and here we have the pop-up for the first number. So let's say the first number is 5 and the second number is, let's say, 10. So the moment we press OK, you can see here we have the output as result is 50. So we have a pop-up. This pop-up is made with the help of window.alert method, and the calculator is working totally fine, right? So if we press OK and if we refresh this, let's use another operator as well. So let's say we are using the division operator. Click on OK and we'll enter the first number. Let's say the first number is 45 and the second number is, let's say, 8. Okay, the moment we press OK, we have the output as 5.625. The pop-up here says result is 5.625. So this calculator is working totally fine. Now this is a basic JavaScript calculator, right? So we went through this program so that you guys can revise what we have learned till now. Let's move ahead to the central part of today's video, and we'll create a calculator like the original one. So we use calculators on phones or laptops as well. So today we are going to make one similar to them. So let me show you guys what we are going to create. So this is the calculator we are going to create today. So this looks like an actual calculator, right? We use such calculators daily, either on our phones or on laptops or sometimes physically as well. So this looks like a calculator app. So let's try to use it. Let me zoom it for you guys. So if we click on 8 and then we click on any number, so it will be printed on the display area. Then we'll use any operator. Then let's say we are using 86 minus 5. So this is the expression we want to evaluate. So what we have to do is we have to press this equals to button, and we have the output as 81. So this calculator is also working fine. So today we are going to create one such calculator, or we can say we are going to create this calculator only. Now the question that arises here is, how difficult is it to create one such calculator in JavaScript? Do we have to write hundreds of lines of code for it, or do we have to write complex code for it? So in this video we will see how easy it is to write code for such a calculator. The code we saw earlier, that is the one where we used simple arithmetic operators to find the output for simple calculations for two numbers obviously, is not what we'll do in this one. So it will increase the code length. Like if we use operators, if we use if-else statement for each operator, then definitely it will increase the length of the code. So we'll try something different, and this next program for a calculator app will let you know the advantages provided by JavaScript in terms of programming. So let's start with the programming part directly. Now we don't need this file anymore, so we'll clear it. Next up we have three files here, right? We have calculator.html, and then for styling we have style.css, and lastly we have script.js for adding functionality to a calculator. Right. So today we will divide this code into three different parts. In the first part we will work on the HTML file and we'll create the layout of this calculator. Then we'll move on to the CSS part, and there we'll add style to the calculator. And then finally we'll add functionality to a calculator. So let's start with the HTML part then. Now we have to keep a few things in mind, and we'll first add the SimpliCode image to a web page. So for that we have to write here inside the body tag, because we want to make a web page more attractive, right? We'll write here div, we'll use a division, and then inside this div tag we'll use the img tag. Then the src will be simplicode.png. so this is the file we have already saved in a folder. Now we'll use the alt attribute here, and the alternate will be SimpliCode, right? Then next up, this image size is quite large. So if we save this program now, you can see the image size is large, right? So what we'll do is we'll limit the width of this image. So we'll write here width, and then let's say the width will be 300 pixels. So this will be the default width for this image as well as for the calculator, right? Next up, we'll go back to the original calculator, and we can see here we have a heading calculator, right? So we'll add this as well. So for that we have to write here inside a HTML file, we'll add another tag. So we'll write here div, and then we'll provide it with a class. Let's say the class is title, and then we'll use the p tag, paragraph tag we can say. So inside this p tag we'll write here calculator. So save it, and you can see here on the browser that we have an image, and over here we have a heading as well, right? So the heading here says calculator. We'll use CSS to style these elements later. For now we have just added them to a web page. Next up, we'll start working on the body of this calculator. So let me show you guys. This is the body of this calculator. This whole area represents the body of this calculator, this display area and the buttons as well. So this is the whole calculator body. So for that we have to write here first, write here div, and then we'll use the class attribute. So the class will be, let's say, calculator. Fine. Now next up we have to work on the display area as well. So this div tag is for the whole calculator's body. So the whole calculator's body include the display area as well as all the buttons and this whole area basically. So this falls under the calculator's body. So for the display area we have to use input tag again. So what we are going to do is we are going to create a placeholder type of thing. So we'll write here input, we'll use the input tag, we'll write here type is equals to text, and then we'll use the class attribute here. So let's say the class for this display area will be display, and then we'll use a property here. We'll write here disabled. So I'll tell you what this disabled is used for. So for now, let's save it. And here you can see if it's visible or not. So here is the display. So this is a placeholder type of thing. So if you can see here, we can't click on it. We simply can't do anything inside it. So this is what the disabled property does. So it won't let the user to enter something on this text box. Now you can see here that we have a display area on our web page and we can't do anything over here. It's disabled, right? That's because we don't want the user to write anything on it. We want to take the input when the user presses a key on the calculator. So let's move ahead, and we are going to add keys to our web page. So we have 4 rows here in the calculator body. You can see we have 4 rows starting from 7, 4, 1 and C. Right, so these are the 4 rows. The first row contains 7, 8, 9 and plus operator. And then we have second row that contains 4, 5, 6 and minus. Then we have third row and fourth row as well, right? So we'll use div tags for all the rows, and we'll keep all these 4 div tags inside a single div tag. That's because we'll use the class attribute again to add styling to a bunch of elements together. Now, we have several different types of keys in our calculator. So we have 10 numeric keys and 4 operator keys, an equal key and one for clearing the screen as well, right? So this key here where we have written C, so what this will do is it will clear the display area. Every time the user presses it, it will clear the display area. Now, so we are going to create different classes for them. So let's do it here. Let's go back to our HTML file, and here what we'll do is we'll write here again a div tag, and for this div tag the class will be, let's say, keys. Fine. Now inside this div tag we are going to create another div tag for each row. So for this div tag we'll write here div class is equals to row, and inside this div tag what we'll do is we'll create buttons. So today we are going to use the button element for it. So we'll write here button, and the first button we want to add is 7, right? Because 7 is present at number 1. If we see the calculator from the start, we can see 7 is at number 1. So we'll write here value 7, and then we'll write here 7. Then we'll copy this and we'll create all the 4 buttons in the first row. So we'll paste it again for 4 times. Then we have buttons as 7, 8, then we have 9, and then finally we have plus, right? So here we'll also change the values. We'll write here 7, 8, 9 and plus. So save it, and if we move back to our calculator, you can see here we have 4 buttons here. We have 7, 8, 9 and plus, right? So we'll style these buttons later. So for now what we'll do is we'll add all the 4 rows. So we'll copy this whole div tag and we'll paste it again for all the rows. So we'll paste it 4 times, and here what we'll do is we'll create second row. So the second row contains 4, 5, 6 and minus, right? So we'll write here 4, 5, 6 and minus. We'll change these values as well. Similarly for third row, we'll write here 1, 2, then 3 and then asterisk for multiplication, right? Then we have the fourth row. So the fourth row contains C, 0, division and equal, right? So we'll write here C, 0, division and equals, right? So we'll change the values here as well. We'll write here the same. So save it. And here you can see we have the body of our calculator. We have a display area, we have all the 4 rows with all the buttons. So you can see nothing is happening on clicking on these buttons. So we'll add functionality to them as well. So for now we are done with our HTML part. Next up we'll use the CSS for styling these elements, and we'll style these elements one by one. So let's add the link of our CSS file to our HTML document first. We'll add it inside the head tag. So we'll move to a head tag and we'll add the link here. So we'll write here link, and then we'll write here rel is equals to style sheet, and we'll write here type is equals to text / CSS, and then we'll write here href is equals to style.css. So we have already created this style.css here. So we have linked this CSS file to a HTML document, save it, and then we'll move to a CSS file and we'll start styling these elements now. So first we'll apply padding and margin to the whole HTML document. So for the whole HTML document we'll use the asterisk here, and inside this asterisk we'll write here padding and we'll keep the value as 0. For margin also we'll keep the value as 0. So save it. So here you can see the padding and margin are 0, and you must have noticed the change here. The calculator is now a little bit compressed, right? You can check it through the inspect elements option as well. Next up, we'll apply styling to the heading. So we don't have to do anything with the picture, although we can use the on mouse over and on mouse out events with the picture as well, but I'm not doing it for now. But you guys can do it, as we came across this topic in the previous video. So let's move ahead, and now we'll apply the style to heading. For that we have to use the class attribute in a HTML file. So if we go back to a HTML file, and you can see here with the heading, or we can say with the calculator or paragraph tag, we have the class attribute here, and the class is title. So we'll use this class attribute here, and we'll write here dot title. So let me guys first make changes to this particular element, then we'll discuss it. So we'll write here margin bottom is 10 pixel. We want the distance between the calculator and the heading as 10 pixel. And then we'll write here text align center. So this is pretty basic. Then we have font weight as bolder, and then we have font size as well. So we'll write here extra large. Then we have width of this particular element, and we know the default width is 300 pixels, so we'll write here 300 pixel, and then we'll use the color. So we want the color to be pure black for this heading, so we'll write here black and we'll save it. So here you can see we have this heading in the center, and till now we haven't worked on the body of the calculator. So this calculator heading is done. We have the heading in the center. Now these are the styling changes we made in the heading part. So we have used the margin bottom as 10 pixel, and it will keep the heading 10 pixels away from whatever is present on the bottom side of the heading. Then we have aligned the text in the center of the division. Then we have the font weight as bolder, which will make the font bolder, and the font size is extra large. The width of the section is also equal to the width of the image we used. Then the font color is black, and we have seen the changes. Next up, we'll make style changes to our body tag, and we'll put this calculator in the middle of the screen. Also, we will make changes to the font family as well of the whole calculator. Now we are making changes to the body of this HTML document, right? We want the calculator to be present at the center of the web page. So for that, we'll write here body. So we don't have any class, so we'll write here body because we want to make changes in the element. So for body, we'll write here width as 100 VW, height as 100 VH, display as flex. Then we have justify content as center. Then we have align items as center. Then we have background color. So we can change the background color of the whole body. So we'll write here F1, F1, F1. So this is a little bit different from white. So we'll check it. Then we have font family as sans serif, right? So this VW and VH in width and height is the viewport width and viewport height. So this will take 100% of the viewport width and the height as well. Next up, we have used the display as flex, and we have used the justify content and align content as the center. We did so in order to keep the calculator in the center of the web page. Then we use the background color as white. We can change the background color to any other color as well, but let's keep it simple this time. And lastly, we use the font family as sans serif. Save it, and here we have a calculator in the center of the web page. So let me zoom it for you guys. You can see here we have the calculator in the center of this web page. Now, next up, we'll work on the body of this calculator. So the body represents the display area and the buttons, right? Not the buttons, but this whole div tag inside which the buttons are present represents the calculator's body. So we'll use the class calculator to make changes here. For that, we'll write here inside the CSS file, we'll write here dot calculator, and inside this we'll write width. So we want the width to be default, which is 300 pixels. So we'll write here 300. Then we'll write padding bottom 15 pixel. So save it, and you can't see any changes for now, so we'll see it. Next up, we'll write here border radius, and the border radius will be, let's say, 7 pixel. We want the background color to be black for the calculator's body, so we'll write here background color black. And then we have box shadow. So we'll define inside this box shadow, we'll write here 5 pixel, 8 pixel, then 8 pixel and -2 pixel. So what we are doing is we are working on the shadow of this box, and then we'll write here RGBA. For red it will be 0, for green it will be 0, and for blue as well it will be 0, and then for alpha it will be 0.61. Fine. So this color is a bit different from black. Save it, and here you can see we have the calculator's body. So let me zoom it out a little bit. So here you can see we have the calculator's body. So this is the calculator's body, and we haven't worked on the display area and the buttons till now. So it will be fine after we'll work on the display area and buttons. Now we have kept the width as 300, just like we did for the image and heading. So the background color is black and the box shadow is defined for this box as well. Next up, we'll work on the display area, and then we'll move ahead to the keys. So let's work with the display area first. We'll write here display, because we have used the class as display for our display. So inside this we'll write width as 100% of this calculator's body, and then we'll write here height. So height will be, let's say, 80 pixels. We can't write here 100% because we don't want the display area to be present within the whole calculator. So we want it to be this much only. So we'll write here 80 pixels. Save it, and the display area you can see here. We have the display area is 100% of this div tag. The width is 100% and the height is 80 pixels. And then we'll add another styling properties as well. So we don't want any border. So for border we'll write here none. And then for box sizing we'll write here border box. And then padding will be 10 pixel. So we want the text to be 10 pixel above the calculator's black part. And then we'll write here font size as XXL. So we'll write here extra large. And then we'll use the background color. So the background color is little bit grayish. So the code for that is CCCECC. So this is the color of a display area. Then we have the font color as black. and the text will be aligned. We want the text to be aligned at the right, so we'll write here right. So next up, what we want to do is we want the display to be a little bit curved from the top left and right corners, right? So for that, we'll write here border top left radius will be 7 pixel and border top right radius will be 7 pixel, right? Save it, and you can see here we have a display area perfect now. We have curves from left and right side, from the top and left and top and right side. With this, we are done with the display area as well. Next up, we'll move on to the button part. Here we have a class named row for all the buttons, and then we have a class as operators for all the operators button, and then we have class as equals for the equal to button as well, right? So if we go back to our HTML file, what we'll do is we'll define two more classes. So for operators, like for addition, subtraction, multiplication and division, the class will be operators. So we'll copy it from here and we'll give it to almost each operator as well as the clear screen button. So we'll give it here as well. We'll give it to minus. We'll give it to addition as well. Save it. And for equals to, we have another class as equals. Fine. Save it. Let's move back to our CSS file, and firstly we'll use the class row for styling all the buttons. Similarly, then we'll use class operators and equals for making minor changes to those particular buttons, right? So first we'll use the button tag. So we'll write here button. So we'll make changes to each and every button with the help of this button element. We'll write here width as 50 pixel and height will also be 50. So we'll write here for height 50 pixel, and then we have border radius as 50% because we want our buttons to be circular, right? So we'll write here 50% the border radius. Then we'll write here for border, we don't want any border, so for border we'll write here none. And for outline also, we don't want any outline as well, so we'll write here none. For font size, so let's say the font size we want is extra large. Fine. The background color for all the buttons will be white, and the font color for all the buttons will be black. So we'll write here white and black, and the font weight will be bold, and lastly the margin for each button will be 10 pixel. So save it, and here you can see a calculator information, right? So we can see here we have all the buttons circular in shape. We have 4 rows and all the buttons are circular in shape. If we compare this calculator to the original one, to the one which we are going to achieve later in this video, so you can see here both of them looks almost similar, right? We have all the buttons here, and next up what we'll do is we'll add some more styling to these buttons. So let's move ahead and we'll add hover effect to the buttons to help us change the mouse pointer when the user takes the cursor over any button. So if we go here inside this calculator, and you can see here on taking the mouse cursor over any button, the mouse cursor is changing here, right? But if we go back to this calculator, you can see there's no change in this particular calculator, right? So for that we have to write here button, and then we'll write here hover. So inside this we'll write here cursor as pointer. So save it, and if we take our cursor to any of these buttons, you can see the cursor is changing to pointer, right? So we are done with it. Next up, we'll use two more properties for each row, and our buttons are almost done with some part left, like the color and all. So we'll write here row because we have defined the class as row for each row. So we'll write here display, and the display will be flex, and we'll justify content as space between. So save it, and here you can see both the calculators are now of similar size. There's no difference in these two calculators. Now we'll make changes to the colors of operator buttons and the equal to button. So for that we have two more classes, operator class and equals class. So we'll write here for the operator class. So we'll write here dot operator, and inside this we'll write here background color as, so we want the background color to be a little bit golden, or we can say it's different from yellow and golden. So we'll write here, we have particular code for this color. So we'll write here hash ff9500. so this is the code for this particular color. We'll save it, and the mistake is the class name is operators. Save it, and we have all the operators with this color. Next up, we'll write here font weight as bold. Save it, and then we have color, font color as black. So it will be default as well because these properties we have already defined in the button tag. Next up, we have another class for the equal to button. So we'll write here dot equals, and inside this we want the background color to be a little bit on the grayish side. So for that the RGB code is 85, 84 and 84. So save it, and here you can see we have the equal to button in gray color. Next up, we'll copy these two properties from here and we'll paste them here. Save it, and here you can see with this we are done with the calculator, and we have the calculator almost same. Suppose we compare this calculator with the final one, we can see we have the exact same calculator here, and the HTML and the CSS part is done. Now we are left with only one thing. The next thing we have to do is we have to add functionality to this calculator. So we have the body of a calculator, but if we try to click on these buttons, you can see nothing is happening over here. That's because we haven't added any functionality to a calculator yet. So let's move on to the JavaScript part, and we'll create certain functions here to add functionality to a calculator. Talking about the functioning of a calculator, we need three functions. One for the display area, one for the calculation part, and the last one is for the clear screen. That will be used when the user presses the clear screen button. This particular button, when the user will press, the screen will get cleared. The idea behind the working of the calculator is whatever button the user will press will be displayed on the display screen. Then we'll use the eval function to evaluate the expression we get from the display, and then the estimated value will be printed on the screen. So the last function will clear the screen again and can be used again for another calculation. So the concept is simple. Let's start with the programming part directly, and before that what we'll do is we'll add this JavaScript file to a HTML document. So we'll write here script src is equals to script.js, type is equals to text slash JavaScript. Save it, and we have connected the JS file to a HTML document. Now we are inside a JavaScript file. So the concept is simple. Let's start with the programming part directly. So we'll create a function for the display first, and that function will take the input from whatever will be there on the display screen. So we'll write here function display, and it will take a parameter as well, and then we have the body of this function. So here we are, and we have a function display with parameter value, and then we'll update the value present in the display box. So we'll use the onClick event first, and we'll display the value of these buttons on display. So for this we'll go back to our HTML file and we'll use the onClick event there. So what we'll do is we'll write here onClick, and on clicking button 7 we'll call display function and it will display something on the screen. So we'll write here 7, and similarly what we'll do is we'll copy this and we'll paste it for each button, right? So let me do it for you guys. We'll paste it here, then we'll paste it again and again for each button except the clear screen and equal button, right? So we'll write here 8, then for 9 it will display 9, and for plus it will display plus. Then we'll again paste it here for all the buttons. What we have to do is we have to keep one thing in mind: it won't work for equal and clear screen button. Apart from that, all the buttons will call this function on clicking. So we'll write here minus for minus operator. For 6 we'll write here 6, for 5 we'll write here 5, and for 4 we'll write here 4. We'll do this. Okay, we forgot to change the values here, so we'll change the values as well. So we'll write here 1, 2, 3, and then we'll paste the on click event here, and we'll change the values here as well. So we'll write here 1, for 2 we'll write here 2, for 3 we'll write here 3, and for operators we'll write here asterisk. Then we'll do the same for on click display 0, it will display 0. For division it will display division. Save it, and you can see nothing is displaying on the display area yet because we haven't added the functionality to the function display yet. So before moving on to the JavaScript file, let's add the ID attribute as well to the display area, because we are accessing the display area and we'll access that area with the ID attribute. So we'll write here ID, and the ID, let's say, will be ID1. So save it, and we'll move back to our JavaScript file now. Here inside this display function, we'll write here document dot get element by ID, and the ID is ID1. So we'll write here dot value plus is equals to val. So we'll discuss it what we did just now. So save it first, and if we click on any button now, you can see we have all the values in the display area now, right? So other buttons are not working yet. So if we click on this clear screen button, it won't work, or the equal to button either won't work now, because till now we haven't defined these functions. So this statement here, this document.getElement by ID, ID1 dot value plus equals to val, this particular statement will use the ID attribute, and we have written here plus equals to. So basically what we are doing is we are appending any new value to the previous value present in the display area. So if we remove this plus here and save it now, so if we click on a button, let's say we are clicking on a button and we want to print 89 on the display area, but if we click on 9, you can see it's not appending, right? The values are overriding because we are using the equal to operator only, and the value will be assigned to display screen again and again. But if we want to append the value with the previous one, so we have to add plus here, and if we save it now, you can see now we can add as many numbers as we want to the display area. Right, now we have the expression present over here in the display area. So if we refresh it, and let's say the expression is 87 plus 3, the next thing we want to do is to calculate the value of this expression. For that, we can either use the if-else statements, but then the code will go so long and complex, right? In order to solve this problem, JavaScript provides its user with a single function that can compute complex calculation in the blink of an eye. So today we'll use a function named eval. So this eval function will take any argument as a string and it will execute it. The string can be an expression, it can be a variable, it can be a statement or a sequence of statements as well. So we'll call a function solve on clicking the equal button to solve the expression written over the display area. So for that we'll move back to our HTML file, and here on the equal button what we'll do is we'll write here on click, and on clicking it will call the solve function. So save it and we'll move back to a JavaScript file and we'll declare a function here. We'll define a function. So we'll write here function solve, and then we have the body of this function. So let me cross check it. Yeah, it's solve. So inside this function solve, we'll take two variables. So let's say we have two variables, let x and y. So inside the x, we'll take whatever value present in the display screen. So we'll write here document dot get element by id. We'll write here id1. So we are taking the value present at the display screen. So we'll write here dot val. And what we'll do is, now we have a variable x which holds the reference of the value present at the display screen. So we'll write here a single function. We'll write here eval, and then inside this eval we'll write x. So with this we are done with the calculation part. Next up, what we have to do is we have to assign this display screen the value present at y, because now we have the answer, right? We have the answer to a particular calculation. So what we'll do is we'll write here document dot get element by id. The id is id1, and we'll write here dot value. We are updating the value, so we'll write here dot value is equals to y. So the value present at y will be assigned to the display screen, to the element with id as id1 basically. So save it, and if we write here 86 plus 4, and if we click on this equal button, okay, so we have to write here dot value, save it now, and if we write here 86 plus 4, you can see the answer is 90. The mistake was here, we have written val here instead of value, so it's working fine. Now next up, what we have to do is we have to clear the display screen on clicking this C button, right? So first we'll use this function. We'll create another function for function clear screen, and then we'll use this function with the on click event inside the button C, right? So we'll go back to our HTML file. We'll write here on click, and inside this we'll write, let's say, CLR. Our function name is CLR. So what we'll do is we'll define another function here. We'll write here function CLR, and what we'll do is to clear the display area, we have to provide empty space to this area, right? So for that we have to write here, we have to again use document dot get element by id. The id is id1 for the display area, dot value is equals to, the value will be empty space, right? So this single statement will clear the display area, and our calculator is finally ready. So save it, and if you can see here, we'll write here 89 and then we'll press C. So you can see on clicking the C, the display area is going blank again. And if we write here, let's say 58 plus 2 is equals to 60. So we have the correct answer as well. And on clicking the C button, the display area goes blank again, right? So let's start using this calculator. Any expression we'll write inside the display area will get evaluated, and we'll have the answer in the same display as well. So let's try. So we'll write a bit complex equation here. So we'll write here, let's say 74 into 3 plus 55 divided by 5. So the answer will be, first it will divide 55 by 5, then it will multiply 74 and 3, and then it will show the answer. So if we press this equal button, so you can see the answer is 233, right? So this calculator is working totally fine. You can check the answer by yourself as well. So this is how we can create a basic calculator in JavaScript, and you guys saw it in today's video. The benefits of using JavaScript is JavaScript provides the user with so many such functions like the eval function, making the daily life of a programmer easy and exciting. So we'll see such projects in future as well. So that's all for this video, guys. See you in the next one, where we will go through callback functions in JavaScript. If you like this video, do give it a thumbs up. If you have any doubts, do let us know in the comments below. Share it with your friends and don't forget to subscribe SimpliCode. Thank you.